Hello book friends, I'm back again with another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing House of Chains by Steven Erikson and explaining to you why it's the most confusing book in Malazan Book of the Fallen. The book that I just ended up finishing was House of Chains by Steven Erikson. I would give the plot of this book about a 2 out of 5. It goes up and down for me. So it starts out with Karsa Orlong and his two companions as they are being awful people as they're going down and brutalizing some humans and some other warriors tribes. So 300 pages or so of a character that you aren't really into, the Prince of Thorns series, where you are with a character who is raping and pillaging, murdering, doing bad things. And the character, unlike Prince of Thorns, has a change throughout this book. I do really enjoy the reveal that Karsa Orlong is a character that we've known before. I would keep that in the book. I would just shorten that first section. The next section basically is just Deadhouse Gates 2.0. But I really enjoyed Deadhouse Gates, so I thought maybe I'd really like this. However, it did not follow in the footsteps of Deadhouse Gates. I think the reason that it didn't is because Coltane's not there, and Coltane was the entire chain of dogs type of thing deal, and him not being there cuts that all down. And then finally, Shaik Reborn being the leader, she doesn't really do very much. So unlike in Memories of Ice, where there are confluences of a bunch of war leaders and stuff, where there's an interesting talk between them, and Shaik's war rooms, they're not very interesting. So it sucks that half of it was kind of just more boring Deadhouse Gates, Memories of Ice, so that's what the plot kind of feels like. And then finally, in the last third, it turns into a whole shit show. I'm not really sure what goes on. It's super confusing. The writing just gets pretty confusing at this point. There's people being assassinated. There's all types of infighting between the Raraku rebellion, and then you still have the Malazans attacking. So it's just a shit show, and it didn't make much sense to me. However, I really did enjoy when it came together at the end, and anytime Karsa Orlong came up, basically. In the last end of the book, I enjoyed when he came up. Characters, I'd probably give this book like a 3 out of 5. The main character for the first third and for really a long type of the book is Karsa Orlong. So he pillages and rapes, and so it's hard to get on his side. But Erikson does do a moral turnaround of this character, and it challenged me as a reader. So it's hard to have sympathy for a character that did those things. However, at the end I did end up cheering him on, which is a confusing and something that I would still like to think about. I don't really like any of the new Malazan people, like Cuddle, any of the new sappers, or anybody. Fiddler, Diker, those are my favorite characters. Kalam, another one of my favorite characters. But we saw a lot of Onrak and Troll Sangar together, and their parts confused the hell out of me. I did not understand Troll Sangar and Onrak very much. However much I enjoyed the Nascent, it's still confusing as hell to me. I loved all of the high mages of the rebellion. I like those people. Not liked who they were, but they are interesting characters. I'm just a bit confused as to where all these characters are headed, but it's Steven Erikson, so I'll believe in his viewpoints. Now, what I would give this a masterful 5 out of 5 in is world building, and that is Steven Erikson's bread and butter. He is a master like no other. Like Brandon Sanderson, he does these beautiful worlds, but unlike Brandon Sanderson, he really just drops you in. Doesn't explain much, and it's very high fantasy that makes the reader confused, but once the things click, they are monumentally satisfying. So he implants like little Easter eggs that are later dropped as gigantic reveals, and it's nothing short of amazing. I just wish I had the brain capacity to be able to sit down and comprehend everything that he was actually putting in the book, because I do believe that this is a piece of literature. If I am to read any fantasy and for it to be high literature that I would like for it to be read and understood better, this is something. And I'll come into that into the prose, because I gave the prose a 4 to 5. And I think the prose is super literature like something that you could study in a classroom. So it's very confusing writing, but it's philosophical, and it's just such a good thing for your brain. So never have I ever read a book that makes me think more than these do. Steven Erikson really does put the time into these to write special characters and special plot lines that ended up paying off. So even though I didn't like this book near as much, I can definitely see the strings that are within this series and within this book that I just was confused on as hell. So overall, I'm going to give House of Chains by Steven Erikson 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5. It's a bit of House of Change is a bit of a clusterfuck. If the plot was a bit more focused, I think it'd be closer to being a 4 out of 5. There's a lot of potential in this series, but this one feels like the most that it could have been summarized within Dead House Gates and Memories of Ice. But let me know how you feel about my ideas in the comments. I would really appreciate some other ideas on Malazan, because this shit's confusing, so I would love to have a conversation about it.